Hi and welcome to my Singapore sketchbook tour. I went to Singapore in August of 22 and this was a sketchbook I took with me. It's a moleskin sketchbook, nice and thick. I like the square size. And yeah, I was in Singapore for a week, so I got lots of sketching done while I was there. And yeah, well, let's start the flip through. Start off at the airport. This was cafe at the airport. I really liked the display on the table, so I sat there and sketched it while I was waiting for my flight. And this was done with a Fude ink pen, fountain pen, and with some coloured pencil. Then these are just some people waiting for the plane, sitting there bored, so yeah, started sketching them. I think by this stage I just about run out of ink in my Fude. They go through the ink so fast. I took some Inktense pencils with me to Singapore. I hadn't used them much, so I did some playing around with them just to see how they layered and how they worked with water and without water. So yeah, this is just swatching. Then the first morning I was there, I went to get a coffee at a cafe around the corner from my hotel. This was the building across the street, so I sat outside and drank my coffee and did this sketch. It's quite nice. This is Inktense, the yellowish green colour, and a lot of the rest is just regular coloured pencils. Then walking through the city, this is, done the Inktense pencils with a bit of neo colour to crayon added. Then this was famous clock tower. I have no idea what the name of it is. I was again doing this with the Inktense pencils. I found I had to be really careful. You can go in and draw with them and do, get these details. And then if you add water, it washes the details out, obviously. But yeah, so it's better to put down a bit of a kind of wash or something first and then do the detail over the top. But then you have to wait for it to completely dry or else the lines over the top don't come out so well. And I have this really bad habit of starting to draw things and cutting the top off completely. So I have to start thinking more about how I position things on the page. Merlion! I really love the Merlion. I went and sat in amongst all the tourists and got a sketch of this guy, this cheeky little face, and his Merlion tail that looks a bit suspicious the way it's poking up there in my sketch, to be honest. And yeah, so he's all in colour pencil and then some Inktense pencil around the side to show the foliage. Merlion. Then view of the city. Colour started getting really muddy here. I was using grey and blue Inktense pencil and yeah, kind of just went muddy. Didn't really get the sort of sun reflecting off the buildings because of that. This is the Fulton Hotel down on the waterfront. More Inktense, especially these blues and greens, and the pink is with regular colour pencil with the Caran d'Ache Luminance pencil. Really interesting architecture. And it really isn't that colour in real life. Don't go to Singapore expecting to see this bright sort of candy coloured building. I think it's mainly white. Then I went to Raffles Hotel for high tea. Yeah, that was pretty awesome. And I took my sketchbook with me because I was there by myself. I was travelling by myself and thought that would keep me occupied, as if eating yummy little cakes and drinking tea was enough to occupy me. So yeah, this was the cake plate. Notice it's half empty. I couldn't start drawing before eating things. I don't have that kind of self-control. But yeah, this little one here, this was really yummy. And that one there looks a bit weird. It had these like alien antennas on top, but it was super delicious. Then just the tea set. I think by that stage I was getting pretty full. To be honest, they weren't real like regular with filling your teapot up. A couple of times I had to call them over and say, my teapot's empty. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I think this was also intense, or maybe all in luminance with a bit of the intense to give shadow here. Then this is the next day, same cafe that I was at in the other sketch. This is looking down the street. It's not a very exciting picture, but I think it really does give the sense of being in Chinatown. Okay, this is my favourite sketch I did in Singapore. I really like this. I like the colours. I like the composition. I like how I've done the lettering on the sign. And yeah, it's just, I don't know. I've got a few little pupils there. But yeah, I really enjoyed doing this. And yeah, I was sitting on the street, sketching away. Some lady came up and parked the car right in front of me. And she was saying, oh, is it okay if I park here? Yeah, I guess so. I didn't want to say, yeah, you're actually blocking my view of the building that I'm trying to sketch. But yeah, so she parked the car, and then when I was leaving, I noticed it actually was a no parking sign up. And so maybe she got fined. But really, don't ask random people on the street things like that. I don't live there. How am I supposed to know where you can park? This is one of the sketches I'm not that happy with. I feel like it didn't really work. I think using the intense pencils and wetting them without letting that completely dry has some weird effects when you're layering over it. So that was one of the problems here, I think the main problem. And yeah, I do like the shutter doors though. So this was just a shop front in Chinatown. Then this picture is the view from my hotel window. I changed hotels. I spent the first couple of nights in Chinatown, then I moved to a different area. And just really love these windows here. This is quite a mixture of, I think, Ecolines, markers, coloured pencil, and the intense pencil. Probably a bit too much going on there, actually. Then I met up with Instagram friend, another sketcher friend, and we did some sketching in the city. So that was really nice. We started off at the library, the National Library, and I sketched this. Love the honeycomb shapes on this building, and then the lines of the cranes. Then this was the second sketch from the same place. I think this is my second favourite of my Singapore sketches. I do like these arches here and the sign. And yeah, like the white space too. I don't often remember to leave white space, and I always like the result when I do, so I have to do that more often. Then a blank page. And this was just a quick sketch while we're having lunch, done in Fude pen and markers. And I think a bit of intense, or maybe Ecoline there. This was, we went to Arab Street and we're sitting in a bar, and I was really trying to get the effect of like the dark interior of the bar with the bright sunlight outside. I don't think that worked, but I still like how these bottles come out and a few of the bits and pieces around the bar. Maybe I should have done a wash over the inside area first, but that's how it came out. Next, hawker centre. Ooh, hawker centres in Singapore are so great. Such cheap food and such good food. Cheap, good food, yeah. And but this place that was near my hotel, every time I went there, a lot of the stalls were shut. I don't know if I was getting there too late or whether the stalls all have different opening hours. But yeah, this was one of the stalls. I didn't buy food from there, I just sketched it. Then we have this building. I really like the architecture here, the shutter doors, and big balconies and everything, big veranda. I was sitting sketching this, and I had my pencil in my hand, and then these ants attacked me, like really vicious, bitey ants. And I screamed and jumped up, and my pencil went flying into the gardens. And I'm looking, there was this wall about knee high that I had to get over to get into the gardens. And I have no flexibility whatsoever. And I thought, this is not going to end well. So I saw a couple of schoolboys walking past and called them over, and they were really kind and went down and got my pencil for me. Because, you know, those Caran d'Ache luminance pencils don't grow on trees. Then this is a building. It's a very famous building in Singapore, and I'll look up the name and put it in the caption because I can't remember what it is. And yeah, domes. I love domes. This was done in Ecolines with some colour pencil over the top, as usual. Then I was having lunch and just did a quick sketch of the condiments on the table. This was all done in Neocolor 2 crayons. Back to the hawker's market. I didn't really fancy any of that pig organ soup or mutton. Don't eat mutton. Ew. But yeah, so much going on. This guy here is pretty funny. And yeah, that's all in coloured pencil. Completely coloured pencil. Then I went to Lindia. It was stinking hot that day, probably the hottest day when I was in Singapore, and ran into this air-conditioned cafe to have a coffee out of the heat. I was just sweltering like you would not believe. So I didn't spend that much time around Little India. Then, yeah, another building. I have no idea what this building is. If anyone's been to Singapore and can tell me what this building is, let me know. I think it could be a church. But yeah, it's in Ecoline with some Caran d'Ache luminance pencil over the top. And this was just a spiral staircase on the side of a building. I kind of wanted to get that real grungy texture. And the pattern of the spiral staircase is so hard to draw. This sketch, which is mainly in marker with a little bit of pencil over the top, I was going to the garden by the bay, I think it's called, the big famous garden in Singapore. And as I was going on the walkway between the train station and the gardens, I looked across and there's this amazing view of the Ferris wheel. But what I really loved, these little houses, they all look like little mushrooms up the hillside. So yeah, I sat down and quickly sketched them. And that's mainly a marker with a little bit of Ecoline and a little bit of coloured pencil, as with every other picture I've done practically. This sketch is the big famous hotel in Singapore. It's a pretty amazing building, and this was on Singapore Day. I met up with the Singapore Urban Sketches group, really friendly bunch of people. I found most sketches in Singapore, well, there's a lot of sketches, a lot of people into sketching in Singapore, and they're all really friendly. I got invited along to a few things. Unfortunately, most of them were after I left because I was only there for a week. But yeah, definitely worth getting in touch with the local Urban Sketches group and seeing what's on. I think they have things every week. So, yep. Good to meet up with other sketchers and sketch together. So yeah, this is mainly in Ecoline pencil and fine liner pen. I was getting really frustrated trying to get things all perfect and getting too bogged down in the detail, so I decided to do a continuous line drawing of the skyline near where we were. So yeah, this was just a really fast and fun sketch, and then I added a bit of colour with the intense pencils. This was another scene done on the same day, looking back over the city with the bright coloured cranes and this building with a really weird roof. Then Merlion again. Ooh, Merlion. And the first sketch I did at the Merlion, the fountain wasn't on. So I did a second sketch when I was with the Urban Sketches and really loved it. I got the shoo of water coming out of his mouth. Oh, Merlion, you're so cool. He's a lion and a mermaid. Woohoo! And yeah, this is done in Ecoline with the Neo colour, 2's over the top. The water is not going to the water into the water though, it's going onto the people on the water side. Then I bought some crayons and was just doing some swatches. I went to one of the art stores in Singapore that had some great stuff, and so I stocked up on a few things, but these crayons were from Tokyo Hands. Then I had to test out, I got a parallel pen that's got the wide nib, and just had to test out how the different lines and everything with that. Then I was sitting in a cafe after I bought all my art materials, was testing out all the mark making, and drew a picture of this couple. It's not a very flattering picture, but I kind of like how it turned out. That's colour pencil and some marker, and then the parallel pen. Then the last picture is some more of the shop front in Singapore. And yeah, I think that is, yeah. I did some backgrounds in gouache, and I was intending to do some night sketching, but a lot of the time it was too dark, like I couldn't actually see the page, I could just see what I was looking at. So it was too difficult to try and get the night sketching done. I did manage to do this one though, which is a bit of a cityscape. And all the lights, there was lots going on the waterfront because this was the night before Singapore Day. So they're all rehearsing and getting ready for the celebrations. I think they were even testing out some of the fireworks. And this is the smoke residue afterwards. And that's the end of my Singapore sketchbook. Should go back one day and sketch over those pages. Thanks so much for joining me, and hope you enjoyed seeing my sketches from Singapore. If you did, remember to like, and if you're not a subscriber already and you want to see more of my content, then hit the subscribe button, and I'll be back soon with more videos. Thank you.